Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grow With Us. My name is Evan Barton, and I'm your host who helps create conversations with the innovators and leaders of a growing tech center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Grow With Us podcast highlights the work of community leaders, tech entrepreneurs, nonprofit professionals, and talent development advocates in Tulsa. Grow With Us is a podcast of In Tulsa. In Tulsa's mission is to connect talented individuals and companies to stimulate economic growth in Tulsa and to create more prosperous communities across the region. Each episode, Grow With Us discusses the growth of opportunities, the growth of communities striving for change, or the tech and innovation that is changing the landscape of Tulsa. On this episode of Grow With Us, I speak with members of my team on early career programs, Tim Gowin, the Programs Manager, and Curcio Smith, the Talent and Recruitment Manager. We discuss the roles of Campus Tulsa and Tulsa Service Year as talent attraction and retention programs for early career individuals, and how students can engage with our programs to connect more in Tulsa. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grow With Us. I am so excited to welcome two amazing colleagues of mine from the early career programs team at Campus Tulsa and Tulsa Service Year. We've got Curcio Smith and we've got Tim Gowin. What's up, guys?
Howdy.
Hello.
Glad to be back.
This isn't a team meeting, so we meet pretty often, and we shoot we talk about things related to work, but we are actually here on a mission to talk about, I think, a little bit more in depth about what our programs specifically do, what your work looks like in those programs, and so I'm really honored that you guys have chosen to join me today. So thank you.
Happy to be here. Yeah, look at that. Twinning.
They're going to be in sync the whole time, everybody. Well, let's just go ahead and get started. So Curcio is a returning guest to Grow With Us, which we're excited to hear some updates from you on. But we'll start with our newest Grow With Us guest, Tim. Go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us your story in whatever way you're comfortable.
Great. Again, thank you for having me. My name is Tim Gowin. I am the Programs Manager with Early Careers, which is Tulsa Service Year and Campus Tulsa. I guess I'll start with my wife and I moved to Tulsa. Well, I should say Bixby. Some people get weird about that, but
I
Tulsa.
call it metropolitan service area. You're fine.
There we go.
I'll include you guys.
Great. About 20 years ago, we're originally from Southern California, both of us. That's where we met, got married, and we moved to the Midwest, specifically to Tulsa, because my wife has a twin sister here. Oh. And we've always been involved in nonprofits. Me professionally, my entire career here in Tulsa have mainly been nonprofit. I worked at youth services for a long time with the homeless population, then moved to emergency infant services, and then to Big Brothers Big Sisters. And then I find myself here with early career, been in this position for about 2 years. And quite honestly, loving it.
Love it. And at Service Year for a 2 year, I don't know if you're including that in the early career program.
Yes.
Okay, that's the 10 year. Gotcha. That's amazing. I didn't know about the twin sister connection.
Yes.
That's super cool. Yeah, Tulsa welcomes you even if you're in Bixby. I wonder how often that's come up. Who challenges you the most on that?
Mainly people who live in the downtown, midtown area. It's mainly a joke because most people, if you talk to them, and this is the same in Bixby, a lot of people don't go down to downtown.
Yeah.
And they seem legitimately surprised when I say that I commute all the time.
Oh, your long commute.
Yes. But I joke around with people a lot of times because my wife and I are from the LA, Orange County area. You know, it's not a big deal for us to jump in the car and just go downtown and get pie night at Antoinette's and drive all the way back. That's nothing for us, but a lot of people, that's strange.
Yeah, I mean, adjusting to size and scale of a new place. I think that's exactly where that comes from. I love that. We love that you're here in Tulsa, and I really enjoy working with you, Tim. Curcio, what's going on, man?
Yeah, so I won't do the long intro like last time, so I've been here before, but Curcio Smith, Talent and Recruitment Manager, now for Campus Tulsa and Tulsa Service Year. And so working and being able to combine those two programs has been a challenge, but a good challenge, learning and growing and figuring out ways to engage students on two different platforms and opportunities. And so, yeah, I think the thing is different now outside of that is probably my hair. A new haircut this time around. So same person, same mission, vision, just a new hairstyle and taking on new challenges and trying to connect students and getting ready for summer.
Absolutely. That's exciting. I love it. You haven't changed much with the new hair.
They say I look younger now, so I'll take it.
I'd say that.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Well, I thank you both for those introductions. I think it's really good in grounding our conversation. So Brooke's been on the podcast before, and we've talked about early career programs back in October, which was very new. It was new to all of us. Tim, we had just started our working relationship in kind of what we would be doing at Campus Tulsa and Tulsa Service Year, how the mission has grown to include both programs of Tulsa Service Year and Campus Tulsa. And so I'm excited to add a little bit more clarity to that ongoing story that has already been featured on the show, but also get to know a little bit more about your work and how it affects you and the program participants that we seek to connect with. So looking forward to that. Let's lastly, kind of in this little round of introductions, recap Tulsa in some ways. For you, Tim, I'm really curious what your relationship has been like since, you moved to Tulsa with your wife. You're growing a family here, raising a family here. How has your relationship with Tulsa over time looked for you?
I think one of the things that has kept us really involved in Tulsa is the community. It really is a special place to live, especially if you're raising children. I don't know if I would trade my 20s when I was in Southern California for that, but yes, respectfully. But it's such a great place to meet people, to get to know people, even people who don't have similar interests. There's still this factor of community. But since I moved here and started pretty much within the first 6 months of moving here, working with the homeless population, it has given me a special heart just for people who don't have a voice, not just homeless, but just people who don't always have a seat at the table, or even young people specifically who just don't see the potential that they have when, especially when things get really tough for them.
Yeah.
So I think my relationship specifically with Tulsa, and I would say my wife as well, has really been community involvement and really being a part of causes that raise voices specifically for young people.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think just hearing your professional background in the organizations that you worked with, Youth Services of Tulsa, is one that impacted me as a young queer youth. And so I have firsthand experience in kind of the impact of that program. My mom is a longtime volunteer at Emergency Infant Services. It's a cause near and dear to her heart. But when you're talking about the youth that is receiving direct service from these organizations, I think it can put it into context. And probably coming from California in some ways, it's obviously a high need because it's a high density place. Mm-hmm. When you get to Tulsa, Oklahoma, it's a lower density, but the need is still high and it's pretty varied. So I'm sure we should talk about it over drinks. We could also talk about it on the podcast. But I'm really fascinated by like that population of folks that all of the programs that you've worked on have touched in a lot of ways. So love to hear that. Curcio, let's check in on you with Tulsa. What's been going on? How's Tulsa changed for you? And since you've been on last?
Yeah, I think what has changed for me the most, I would say, is the art of delivering information and finding different ways and mediums to do that. And so I'm an early Turley baby. When we talk about the north side of Tulsa, everybody knows, if you know me or listened to me before, I'm proud to say that on every bio intro that I do, that I'm from North Tulsa, but I'm from early Turley. And so the further you go north, the less and less you see resources. And when I was growing up, community was big. And so I haven't spent time there necessarily day in and day out. So I can't say what the community looks like now, but growing up, it was a large sense of elders and young folk and everybody in that area. And one of the things that I felt like was missing now that I'm older and being here was information and access to resources.
Yeah.
And so I think as much as I would love to cut a check and try to throw money at things to solve problems that exist specifically in that area and, Tulsa as a whole, I think information is the greatest currency or power that you can provide someone. And so I think that's the thing that I've learned or that has changed the most is our information, how we provide the information, and really meeting people where they are. So following the golden and the platinum rule, I think it's something that I've really explored and tried to bring into our workspace so that we're also not just, we're focusing on all of the aspects of community in Tulsa, those that are transplants coming to Tulsa, and then those residents that are in Tulsa. So having an approach where we want you to fall in love with Tulsa, and if you're from here, we want you to fall in love with Tulsa again.
Yeah.
And so I think by giving information and doing on the ground work, which we've been successful at, I would say over the last 2 years, really doing the on the ground work, going to the colleges and being in the community and having events that can touch different people in different ways is important. So information sharing, I think, is what I
absolutely. I think in information and activation, like not just putting a bulletin board up or whatever, but like, trying to get everybody who sees it to go in some 100%. Ways. Like we could create all the programming in the world, but it's like, are people going to see it as valuable? How do we help them see it as valuable? I see our work really coming into play with that a lot. And I think this next question leads perfectly into that conversation. Both of our programs have a recruitment element to their function. So we're talking about Tulsa Service Year, which is a 1-year fellowship in nonprofit, where, early career folks are essentially taking a chance on a career and an opportunity at an organization. And so we have to kind of help them see that is a viable opportunity and even a viable career path in some ways. So we talk about that on the Tulsa Service Year side, but with Campus Tulsa, the recruitment really is like, have you ever seen yourself taking an opportunity in Tulsa? Do you know what the internship base looks like? Do you know what the industry base looks like? Connecting students to that opportunity. So that's really where both of your work kind of overlap. And Curcio, on the talent and recruitment side, I'm going to allow you to go first and then kind of lead into Tim. But can you both share, what it means to recruit for Campus Tulsa and Tulsa Service Year?
Yeah, I think what it means is, again, providing that access to activation. And so we could talk about all of the great things that are happening in Tulsa, but really, meeting people where they are and then giving them the opportunities to explore different pathways to pursue, that being an internship or a fellowship. And so on the Campus Tulsa side, internships are big, and that's the engine that drives that program. And so when I'm out recruiting and talking about internships, every student is an intern. Whether you know it or not, you are an intern. And an internship is a great pathway and opportunity to get exposure, translate what you're learning in the classroom into real world experience, hands-on. And I like to say that it's an opportunity to try before you buy.
Absolutely.
Whether you are a concentrated major and you've been knowing what you wanted to do since you were 8, or you're somebody that's in college now that is on a pursuit and you don't know if this is necessarily the route that you want to continue on, do an internship, whether that's in your degree study or if it's an interest that you have. That's an opportunity to explore. I think it's a fine balance that, we try to get students to explore, which is the discovery, but then also we know that there are economic drivers as well as to why students are participating in college. So we want you to be somewhere in the middle, whichever reason your reason for being in college is, whether you're trying to change your economic status, immediately following college, or hey, I'm here and I got the opportunity to explore because of my background. We want you to be in the middle somewhere where you're not on one side of the scale. And so that's really the conversation. And again, talking about Tulsa and its emerging markets and opportunities that are here now and the ones in the future as well, which can be tough when we're talking about this generation of students, talking about information, right? They have a lot of access to a lot of information. So it's cutting through the weeds of what is true and what's not. Yeah. And just being transparent with where we are, not just as a program, but the city of Tulsa as well, and the opportunities that exist. And then, transition over to the Tulsa Service Year side, getting acclimated to that, and then talking about fellowships. So, again, you may have all the T's crossed and your I's dotted, and you're still at the end of graduation, like, I don't know what the next step is.
With a master's degree. You have a master's degree.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what I want to do.
Not sure, yeah.
Or the opportunities that I was pursuing aren't readily available like I thought they would be. Economic and markets change, as we see now, like frequently. And so that's okay. You know, and having a fellowship is that kind of safety net or a plan that you can pursue that maybe you didn't know was on the table beforehand. And then participating in a lot of the nonprofits here that are in Tulsa. And I would say we have a very robust, I think Tim and I coming from the nonprofit space here in Tulsa, been in that work for 10 plus years. It's a lot of work that can translate into other opportunities for you. There are a lot of transferable skills, a lot of grassroots things that you will learn that can, be a good strength for you. And you're able to build a network and resources and have folks that you can come back to, whether that's from a referral standpoint, if it's a relationship that you've built. A lot of my relationships, both personal and professional, come from the nonprofit world. And so being able to talk to students about that and it being a paid opportunity on both sides, internships and fellowships, which is big. So not just talking about the opportunities and then you going in and doing the work, but actually being paid for the services that you're providing and also learning. So it's a great hands-on learning experience. And that's a huge part of the conversations that I have across the state. So
absolutely. Tim, what you got to add to that?
I would start for me with the Campus Tulsa side. This is a new experience because I just got the Campus Tulsa responsibilities just in October, like we talked about. But one thing that was interesting was when I went to a career fair at a high school, I noticed after about 20 minutes that I really didn't even bother to ask any of the young people who had stopped by my table if they knew what an internship was. And that wasn't because any of them weren't smart. These were smart kids.
Yeah.
They just never really, they've heard the word, but they just didn't know what it meant. So I quickly realized I needed to really define that word. And then to Curcio's point that we only do paid internships. So now I've got ears because you're going to make some money. But then also, I think we do a great job in both these programs. If you really don't know where you're going, that's okay. Yeah. That's what these programs are for. And with Campus Tulsa, I was just encouraging young people to just get on our site and look at all the different majors that you can major in college, but then also get an internship to get your foot in the door to something that you might like.
Yeah.
And even if you only like it for 2 years, that's okay. You can pivot. We all pivot.
Yeah.
And giving young people as many options as possible, I think is the specialty of Campus Tulsa. And I love when Curcio says, try before you buy. That is a really important concept when you're talking to a high schooler who's not really thinking, I'd really like to lock into a 30-year career,
Right.
And I have the pleasure, my wife and I have a 19-year-old and an almost 14-year-old. And, I have these conversations in real time where I have to really define what I'm talking about to especially the 19-year-old because he is a boy or a man. But from the Tulsa Service Year side, the online presence is very important. Yeah. People really do find out about what we're doing through our platforms, which now you're heavily involved in.
Yes.
And making sure those are snappy and to the point, and then it has action steps, sign up here. And then I would say the second part is the alumni or young people who have gone through the fellowship. They tell other people, their friend groups or people that they might have had classes with, which is a lot of the referral process is a lot of how we get our applicants. And now that we have Curcio with targeted places to go, like colleges like NYU, now we can recruit literally from all over the nation. And that's important when we're talking about bringing new talent in, as well as keeping the talent that we have here.
Yes, absolutely. I was taking some notes while you guys were talking about things I wanted to return to because y'all know I'm passionate about this too.
Yeah.
Going back to the Campus Tulsa recruitment side, I've had the chance to give that presentation that we give to a couple of different classes, and when we get to that slide where we talk about the internship search process, I always framed a point of advice kind of as like, you are going to be the first person that denies yourself an opportunity, because if you're looking at your body of work and you don't see it for yourself, you're saying no before anybody else is. And that, I felt like Dr. Williams at TCC was like, love that. And I was like, thank you for validating me. But also, like, I just think it's true. I mean, I had that direct experience of, like, I applied for the Tulsa Service Year Fellowship, didn't get it, but they asked me if I was interested in venture capital. I didn't know what venture capital was, and I said yes. So, like, it was the try before I buy, like, experience. Exactly. And I think it's exactly what you mentioned, Tim, about, like, giving young people as many options as possible. That was what I wanted. I did not want to lock into a 30-year career.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see that for myself, especially if I'm looking around the world and seeing it's on fire. Like, I don't know, reality was starting to set in at the same time as me having to make these major life decisions. Like, where am I going to spend 4 years? Is it going to be in Tulsa, or is it going to be outside of Tulsa? Is it going to be in this technical field that I, know is lucrative and know has an established, like, path, or am I going to try and figure some things out on my own? I really tried the first one, gave it a good, honest try, but ended up being kind of more of a free spirit when it came to what I was studying, what I was interested in, and what opportunities I pursued. And I am not a spokesperson for Gen Z, millennial cusps, or whatever I am, but I do feel like I see my peers reflecting that a lot more. We have some similar sentiments to that. And so, I needed to be, I think about my approach to this work from the marketing side is that I am marketing to myself. What is information that I would want to see in a town, a city, a program that would make me be like, well, yeah, I'll give it a try. Like, that is actually the approach that I take.
If I can give you your flowers on that note, because when we started, this role that you're in now wasn't, I won't say available, but we didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't know that it was needed to the degree and then what it all entailed. And so your willingness to be open-minded and explore those different things. Like, when we started, it was mapping out, like, what does recruitment look like? How we're going to use data to inform a lot of the strategic plans that we have to go out and pursue students, employers, different things like that. How we're going to market to them. What's the language that's being spoken? What mediums are being used to send out the information? And so that level of open-mindedness, willing to explore, and not saying no early on or canceling yourself out. Because a lot of times, looking at when we do bring up the job board and resume qualifications or different things like that, those bullet points, it's rare that you're going to meet every single bullet point on a job description.
Oh, absolutely.
So never cancel yourself out when it comes to that. Again, that key word is transferable. There are skills that are transferable in any role that you currently have or one that you'll have in the future. And so that's what you really want to hone in on, is like the strengths and just being open-minded to different opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kudos to you.
Thank you. I appreciate flowers, physical and metaphorical.
Message.
The last thing I wanted to touch on before we move on to another part of this discussion is just that, like, the validity, but also the experience of the referral that we get through TSY for new applicants. We're building a really strong alumni basis for the Tulsa Service Year program. We have some amazing Tulsa Service Year alumni. Can't be beat. And I think what I've been kind of grappling with in some of my marketing plans is just establishing that Tulsa Service Year is a program that establishes a new talent pool for nonprofits. That is the value that we add to this community, to this talent pool. And it's honestly a new talent pool, not just for nonprofits, because we've seen fellows go into the corporate world. We've seen fellows develop their own businesses. Lydia Jung comes to mind immediately, former guest of Grow With Us, and also Tulsa Service Year alumni. And so wanted to highlight that. But Tim, I'm sure you have even more amazing examples, if you can think of some off your head, of kind of how alumni have really bolstered the Tulsa community.
Yeah, I would say even in our first cohort, Ray Fitzgerald, who works at TEDC, he's, I think, received a couple of promotions. He's very active in our alumni. He comes to events and talks about his experience, not only as a fellow, but since he's left.
Yeah.
And I think that really paints a picture for a young person who's graduated from college and now is graduating from this fellowship and still a little uncertain. Again, they're not looking to lock down the next 15 to 20 year career, but if they can get a good vision for a 5-7 year career, awesome. We also have some alumni that have stayed in contact that have moved away.
Yeah.
Like Will Greer, he's in San Francisco, and he's come back a couple times on Zoom and just talked about just what was so important for him. He was in the GKFF network, and he really opened my eyes to how important that part is.
Yeah.
Not only just with the fellows, but just anybody in our ecosystem, just making sure that they're aware of not only GKFF, but just the community of nonprofits here, because I love the saying, I don't know who told me this, but I repeat it all the time to the young people we're working with. But in Tulsa, it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Yeah.
And that is really important when we're talking about referrals.
Yeah.
When we have young people who are applying for the TSY or the Tulsa Service Year Fellowship, and they have a referral from someone who really rocked the fellowship and is really someone that showed up to their fellowship placement and did everything at a high level, but also participated in the program at a real high level. And to be clear, we've had pretty much every single fellow has done very well in the program.
Yes.
There are some that really just exceed all the expectations. Their word means something when they say, hey, I have a friend.
Yeah,
or
you should let this person
yes,
be a fellow.
And that's what's really exciting about Tulsa Service Year is we have a lot of really talented, accomplished young people trying to come here or to stay here.
Yeah.
And this program gives them the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We might get slightly repetitive on some of the things that we just mentioned here, but I do want to just go ahead and frame the question to you both. We've talked about both programs a little bit in terms of who they apply to. But if you were going to speak to an individual, maybe this is a better way to frame this question, but why would someone want to participate in Campus Tulsa or Tulsa Service Year? I think Curcio is going to have some perspective on the Campus Tulsa side, having worked on it a little bit longer, and Tim on the Tulsa Service Year side, same. But it's open for both of you to approach that question.
Yeah, I would say on the campus side, I think something that stands out is the relationships that are built outside of the folks that you get to know on Campus Tulsa or just our staff in general.
Mm-hmm.
We've had students that have formed relationships that would have never met each other had they not come here for the summer for that experience. And that is a beautiful thing that I think will go well beyond just Tulsa and the relationships that are built. I would say that when we say network, I'm really talking about not just from a professional standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint.
Social capital.
Social capital is huge. And so the events that we create during the summer are designed to do that.
Yeah.
So we've had a summer where we had a whole group full of introverts, and we had to learn ways to get them interactive and things like that. And we had another summer where we had a lot of extroverts, and folks finding their kinship in different ways, but it was through the vehicle and the opportunities that we provided. And so I would say if you're a student that's looking to try something new, get paid while you're exploring these things, and then open to new relationships. I've heard this before. It's not about your day ones, it's about your day twos as well. And so you'll be able to meet folks that you probably wouldn't run into had this experience not been something you participated in. So I would say that, but then also going back to like the business side of the business side of it is building the necessary skills that will take you far beyond just probably where you're currently being able to envision yourself.
Yeah.
When you're in an internship, it can be stressful. It is an environment. It's a lot of rules and norms and things that you have to get acclimated to. But that experience, I think, is something that is invaluable. For me, when I had an internship, I have 480 hours that I had to get in one semester, which was a lot.
They made you get that internship.
They made me get that internship. And I did a lot of the grunt work, too, that wasn't fun. Whether I was filing papers or getting coffee, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But the relationships that I built and just the hands-on experience that I got from that, it told me, one, I didn't want to continue on like a probation officer route. So that was important. But two, it opened up the door for me to do a lot of the nonprofit work where I wanted to have an impact before an individual was impacted by the justice system.
Yeah.
And so it gave me, a new career shift, but then also, again, that hands-on experience that has been invaluable. So I will not forget those 480 hours. So if you hear me talk about that early and often, it was a lot. It was difficult. But if I was talking to a student sitting across from them, that's something I would highlight. And then Tulsa, just being in Tulsa, you get to see a lot of the things that are promoted. I think the transparency is one that is unique to Tulsa because you can actually see the things that we're talking about and experience those things. And then you see why we have a merch line that's titled From Tulsa with Love. So,
hey, little plug.
That's what it's about.
I should have worn my shirt.
That's all good.
It's okay. I didn't give us a drop. Tim, what about you?
From the Campus Tulsa side, I really think that the young people who are from Tulsa, but then may have went to Norman or Stillwater or even Arkansas, letting them know that there's a summer opportunity to come back. And hey, if you don't want to live with your parents, we have a opportunity for you to get housing through our partnership with TU. Mm-hmm. Those are the kind of students that I envision us really targeting and getting them to, because they're going to be exposed to a lot of things that are going on in the world and in the nation. And we want them to be aware of those things, but we also want them to come back to Tulsa and be part of our talent pillar here. Yeah. So I think those internship opportunities over the summer, there's just such a great opportunity for a young person to come back to Tulsa and experience basically a job and get paid for 8 weeks in a field that you're interested in, instead of, no shade to, I've spent a lot of time my college years waiting tables. Yeah. And that worked for me. But some young people might have an opportunity to get an internship in the oil and gas industry, in the arts, even in nonprofit. And then from the Tulsa service year side, it really is, I love it because it is nonprofit and it gets these young people exposure to what I think is a pretty special city of nonprofits. I'm not saying we're better than everybody, but I really do like the setup that Tulsa has. I love how philanthropic we have all these foundations, but also just the general public can be. Again, we have still issues to solve and things to confront, but this is a special place to get a 1-year fellowship where you have a salary, where you have benefits, but you have this safety net of our team. I'm a job coach for them, and I can help them navigate tough conversations with coworkers or with their bosses. But also, even if they do have a mistake at work, those things usually happen with our support and how to recover from those. And I think that's something I wish I would have had.
Who doesn't? Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm gonna give you flowers, Tim. We had our second Saturday with the fellows this past weekend before last. And, I've heard 10 people go around the room saying that you had impacted their lives through being either their therapist, their job coach, a hand to hold us, a cheerleader. That is something that, it's your job and you're paid to do it, but also like you don't just you more than enjoy it. Like, it's awesome, and I think that you make a deliberate impact on these folks' lives, and that is something that we can't. I don't know that we know that Tulsa Service Year is kind of modeled after another fellowship, but like it doesn't have Tim Gowin. It might not have Curcio Smith on it. It might not have Evan Barton on it. And so we're putting ourselves into this work. And that, I think, is a difference that we can take credit for in some ways. The impact that it has on early career folks, and specifically the folks that have the opportunity to do Tulsa Service Year. And I think we do a really good job of making some awesome connections for those folks, but also watching them flourish, watching them do it for themselves. That's what we would most often like to see happen. And what I think we do see most often happen is someone coming into their own selves here.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. But to your point, my whole job is to basically get out of the way.
Yeah.
So when these young people come talk to me, whether they're riding a high and we hit all the measures of success, or maybe there's a lot of room to improve, my whole job is to listen to them and try and pick out the things that they're saying they really want, and then helping them do the hard things to get what you want. Because especially in your career, it just doesn't fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
So all I do is listen and ask a lot of questions and let them guide the conversation, because the whole point of them going through this fellowship is to understand that they have it inside of them.
Yeah.
They don't need Tim to show up and say, okay, what are we going to do about this?
I know you guys being mean to my
yes.
No, it's not that.
And I remind them almost every time after a one-on-one, when we've had one of those moments where it was almost the end of the world, the sky is falling, and now we're feeling a little bit better, that now let's look at this last 45 minutes or an hour. All I did was repeat back some of your options and your ideas, and you chose from. So this was all you.
Yeah.
There was nothing real special about anything about me.
Yeah.
And that is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's good work, and I know it's the work that we do. So I'm gonna try to not self-congratulate us too much, but I do really enjoy what we do. My last question for you guys, and I think this is the one that we get to do some anticipation work. We're laying the ground. This is our first marketing effort that we've done on setting some hype for the summer. And let me tell you, I'm hyped. This summer, our team is planning some exciting and engaging events for summer 2025. Can you both share with us some things to look forward to from early career programs when it comes to summer 2025?
Yeah. Kick it off?
Yeah. You
We have some things that are returning that have been a crowd favorite from previous summers. So I'll touch on bowling and FC Tulsa if you want to do Intern Appreciation Day. Yes. So for FC Tulsa, we have a good, I would say, alignment with FC Tulsa. Every year we're able to rent out a section at the Driller Stadium for a soccer game. We have well over 120 guests that we'll have tickets for to come and enjoy a night game out at the stadium. Food and drinks will be provided as well. And we also provide transportation options for you to attend as well. So even if you're a student that is coming here for the summer and you don't have transportation that you're coming with, or if you're a student here that doesn't have reliable transportation, we do have that covered for you as well. So you'll get more information about that once you sign up for those events. And also the Dust Bowl, we have a good relationship with them as well. Last year we rented out Dust Bowl, and students were able to come and eat as well, and also participate in different events. What I didn't learn was we had access to the entire Dust Bowl space, and there's a private room as well. So yes, those who made themselves self-proclaimed VIP members took advantage of that. That was not Campus Tulsa service you're doing, but that'll be an option as well this year too. To participate in that. So I think more of the introverts kind of moved themselves into that room and became their own clique. So it was just natural to see. And Evan was there, stopped by. So we were there for a little bit and got a chance to see it. So those are two events that I'm excited about. We have a lot of turnout for those events. So looking forward to doing those two things, especially the soccer game.
Yes.
I feel like the weather has always been perfect. So I don't want to jinx it this year.
I know.
It's been perfect. Sunset, skyline of the city. You can't ask for more than that during the summer. So.
Yeah. And Tim, I'm going to jump in really quick before and say that these are events that highly encourage you to not think that you are too cool for community for. Yeah. Show up and you're going to meet someone that. The barrier for entry should be low. We got your ticket. We got you some food. We might even get you a drink. This is the time to put yourself out of your comfort zone, or comfortably navigate your comfort zone if you are more of an extrovert. So we hope to see you guys at these two events.
And whatever your motivating factors are.
Yes.
We are not here to judge. Just show up.
Great point.
Absolutely. Great point. And Tim, how are we kicking it off and closing it out?
Yeah. So we really wanted to do bookends and really have two events that signaled, hey, we're off and running. And then one that says, thank you for your work. And I love that we call the first event intern appreciation, just the gratitude that we are taking time to just say, hey, thank you for being here and being a part of this. Now, I don't know, can we talk about details?
Yeah,
it's going to be at Welltown,
yes.
and it's for any Campus Tulsa intern. I'm sure we're going to invite some Tulsa Service Year alumni, especially the ones who have gone through the Campus Tulsa programming, which is kind of fun. That I probably should have mentioned that we've had several fellows who actually went through an internship with Campus Tulsa or with GKFF and then became fellows. So they really experienced both programs. But I love appreciating these young people who probably, at least to this point in their career, probably haven't been appreciated too much. And just having a pretty low level event where they can come, hang out, hopefully meet one person or meet a lot of people, but also meet our staff and just get to know people who might even be in a different field, but are still in a similar place in life.
Yes.
And then the closing event, we don't have a lot of details on that yet, but it's really
gonna be
is
big.
Yeah. But it really is, signing the end of this part, but celebrating it, no matter how their internship goes. This is something that I say to a lot of the young people that are in the fellowship. Just because something is hard or didn't work the way you thought, it didn't mean it wasn't valuable. And sometimes things that were really easy weren't that valuable. So I think that this will be a really good opportunity for the interns to reflect on the last 8 weeks or this summer, things they learned, people they might have met, but then also just be grateful for this opportunity and that they concluded it. We also have a couple of professional developments. We're working with Chase Bank to do a financial literacy professional development session, and then there'll be another one in June, which we're still getting the details. But those opportunities are for young people who really want to grow, not just in their career, but as people. And that's what those are designed for.
Absolutely. One of those professional developments that Tim mentioned, we'll be providing free headshots to students that show up. And, that is something we are happy to provide to students. A headshot goes a long way. That's going to be the first thing you put on your LinkedIn profile that we hope you make, or we can even help you make. So lots of great opportunities to, again, like you said, Tim, I like the way you frame that, grow in your career, but also grow as a person, growing your professional skills, your personal skills, your hard skills, your soft skills. We've got a lot of language for what that means, and we're here to demystify it, and happy to be a bridge in terms of your college life to the real world in some ways, which is having a job and having a 9-to-5 and having responsibilities. One last thing I wanted to mention about summer programming is that really a lot of the programming with Campus Tulsa is designed for students who have an internship. And so if you are a student that is going to be in Tulsa and you have a job at a Tulsa-based company, or you're in Tulsa and you have a remote internship, you are welcome to Campus Tulsa events. We are really excited to welcome you into what we're calling the summer cohort. And if any of these events sound exciting to you, we want to make sure you're able to bring a friend. So that person that you bring doesn't necessarily have to have an internship, but bring a plus one to help you navigate that space, and also share the love and create some community. But Tim and Curcio, we podcasted, we did it.
Yay.
Any final words from you guys on kind of what's going on in the world, what's going on in work, or just some best wishes to any of the listeners?
Well, I mean, I want to give flowers. I appreciate really great teams, especially when you're doing something complex like what we are doing with an age group that is just trying to figure it out. And obviously, Brooke, our director, is unbelievable. She has such a great feel for when to get our consensus and when to just make a decision, which is really cool. Reem and Becky on the ops side, they are so detailed, just are so put together, especially when I'm discombobulated. And then I've learned a ton, even though I'm older, I've learned so much from Curcio just about programming, specifically on how to get people to show up, because that is something that even in Tulsa service year, we struggle with. So, when I get a chance to pick his brain, it's always like, oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
And then Evan, you being present for specifically the Tulsa service year events, it means a lot to me, because sometimes I'm just doing those on my own, and it is really, really helpful to have somebody who is close to the age range give their opinion on things. I'm really excited for the session we're going to do in Welcome Week, fun things to do in Tulsa, because your weekend was obviously just a bunch of fun things to do in Tulsa. And I think that's going to be really important. So I really do just love and respect the team. And I feel so confident in what we're able to do. So that's what I want to do.
I love it. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Tim. And I got a chance to sit in on the recruitment side for Tulsa Service Year this year, and the work that you all were doing from the interview standpoint, when you're getting applications and you do the interviews in like a week time span, and just being able to connect with the students during those interviews. It was really, really hard to get down and narrow down to the fellows that got selected for this cohort. And I walked away feeling inspired just by the information that they already came to the table with, and then their pursuit to really want to be involved in civic engagement was very inspiring. So I would say all of what we do for me really touches on providing information and inspiration. So if some way, somehow you're able to walk away with those two things at the end of it, I feel justified in the work that we're doing, and then the amazing talent. So we touched on something earlier about Tim and his relationship building that students highlight a lot. I think what he does is it really showcases what Tulsa is about. Tulsa is a relationship-based city, and people have heard me say this before. When you come here, people don't really care about what you know until they know that you care.
Yeah.
And then once you're invested in that way, you can really start to develop relationships, and that 1 degree of separation is really apparent here in the city, to where you can run into someone who can introduce you to someone else and really open that door that you were trying to pursue, or one that you didn't even know was available. And it creates this whole other imagination. So I say the world is one big playground. Use us as a vehicle to explore and have fun in that space, and really just take advantage of what resources are available to you.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for your time, and thank you for being on this episode of Grow With Us. It's been amazing, and we're excited to see what comes out of early career programs this year. Full team, full year of operation ahead of us, but I'm really looking forward to it, and I am excited to work with you guys more. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of Grow With Us.
Appreciate you. This is where we cut
Thanks,
the theme
Evan.
music.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Grow With Us. Grow With Us is supported by In Tulsa Initiatives. If you're interested in learning more about In Tulsa services for job placement and workforce development, please visit talent.intulsa.com. From there, you can join our talent network, where you'll get access to our newsletter, and our talent team will make sure we put the right opportunities on your radar. We put the choice to pursue a new career and opportunities in your hands. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to be notified when more episodes of Grow With Us are released. Let us know what you think about how we're doing by rating and reviewing. It really helps. Grow With Us is edited and engineered by Rant9 Productions and Jesse Ulrich. This has been Grow With Us.